also since it's a long run, it might be easy for us to fall into being complacent and, especially for the matinees, so we always have to constantly fight that, the katamaran.
I always treat it as something new kasi it's also an opportunity to discover new things. Kumbaga, just because na naka-rehearse na kayo ng matagal, it doesn't mean na magiging complacent ka.
You could fall out of character, or you could be so comfortable in it that you autopilot, and that's the worst thing you could do, because then you lose all sincerity, then you lose your audience, you lose everything as a giving actor on stage, and that's really what you want to avoid.
We were talking about this at rehearsals, and because it's 1930s, there's a certain it's a period piece in that sense that you have to really take them back into transport them to that era, and there was a certain largesse or a bigness to the acting. Yeah, you had to. The mannerisms were different. The way of speaking was different. So that's a challenge in itself. But again, it's a fun challenge.
Well, for me, we have this wonderful invention called Google, and portraying a person that's real in history. There was a lot of material out there. So I studied that as an actor, and for a few months beforehand, when I found out I was doing the project, I studied all his film clips, the way he spoke, so that I can get down his accent.
I work with a lot of kids, but the treatment of my relationship with Annie is very different from how I am with the kids, because we do children's parties, and with children's parties it's all happy, and like your chums and everything. With Grace, she's a very pulled back kind of lady, very controlled, and her relationship with Annie still has to be tender, but at the same time still has to show her stature and I guess her position in the household of Warbuck. So it's a lot of distilling, I guess.
That was finding that right temperature, because Warbuck is big, but he has his weakness. He has his soft side.
I personally had to look at the material differently, because if you think about the 1930s musicals, you always think of the villain as these bumbling idiots who just happen to be successful, and they're all bumbling, and they're all they're not very good at being villains, right? But it's they're funny. But Michael wanted a real danger to Rooster and Hannigan and Lily, which.
So you kind of have to more or less study kung paano ba siya magsalita, tapos kung ano ba yung mga demeanor nun sa 1930s. I mean, yung mga expressions natin today, hindi na ma-apply dun eh. So you have to make sure to do the research, and then you have to look into their history, so you know where your character is coming from, and more or less why is your character this way. And then,
But what's interesting about it is that Michael has a very different take on it. We were kind of we had to look at the script a different way, because a lot of it is very 1930s, it's fast talking, take a gander, that kind of humor, right? And Michael wanted a little more realism into it. He really wanted to see the depression, and really wanted to see the conflict, so that when Annie comes in, it's really a breath of fresh air.
So
Right.
it's kind of an honor in a sense for us to be able to do this material and redo it for to tell a whole new audience.